What's up, guys? For the third time. Of course, I I hate it when people say that. I don't hate it. It's just kind of, I don't know, the third attempt at making this video. Even though I just did it, it's kind of one of those things where we don't know that you've attempted this video 4 times, so why say something about it? Because we only see the first attempt, the one that you put up. It's just something that everybody does. Hell, even I do it. It's just one of those things. For the third time. I mean, how would you know? You could think that it was the very first time I did it. Whatever. Anyway, talking about Strider today. Made a video a while back talking about their new lockup. They changed from the extremely radius blade tang, so blade tang lock bar, the radius curve that it had, to a linear lock bar, now kind of like that, and now it's just going to have to move down like that. Linear lock bar for the Strider is an improvement. Their radius was not good. That's confirmed by many people. If you own the Strider with the previous lockup, the radius blade tang, you will get blade play eventually. With some it happens instantly, with some it happens years down the road. The double gunner grip I had developed blade play. Bought it the first day of Blade Show, and by that afternoon it had blade play. That fast. The green Ranger Green SMF I had, the Lego version, developed blade play within like a month. So they all were prone to it due to the geometry. Recently, Strider changed their lock geometry, like I said at the very beginning. Now it is a straight cut linear blade tang. As you can see, could actually bump up the exposure. Forgot I could do this. There you go. Now you can see it really well. Linear cut blade tang. You see how early the lockup is also. Probably around 25-30%. That's where the knife was the second I bought it, and that is where it has stayed ever since I got it a couple days ago. But the point is I've flipped this knife a bunch. I've opened it and closed it a bunch, and it hasn't moved at all. This new lock geometry is excellent. In addition to it being longer wearing than the radius, it's solid also. There is zero blade play in this knife. It is the most solid Strider I've ever felt vertically. I mean, there's not even any flex. On a lot of knives like this, some of these, I can get lock flex, meaning I can press on the blade so hard that the lock bar actually bends and you can feel some wiggle. Not many knives are immune to that. This one is, and a couple others, customs I felt. So at least on this particular model, this particular one, they got the lock geometry absolutely perfect. I have heard reports of Strider's new lockup having problems, and this was from a very well respected knife maker. Not going to say names because they don't want to be known, but very well respected knife maker has a knife with Strider's new lockup, and he can literally just put pressure on the blade and the lock will pop off. Now, that was the lock geometry issue that I was talking about in my video where I debuted this knife. I don't want to say that their new lock geometry has an issue because sample size is way too small. His one knife is not a large enough sample to make a hypothesis that their new lock geometry is bad. My sample size is just as large as his, and mine is perfect. So while his knife is definitely malfunctioning doesn't mean that that's the norm. It could be the exception and not the rule. I would venture to say that most of their locks are going to end up like this. They've done this really well. They fitted the lock very, very well. I mean, it was earlier than this when I got it, just by a hair. So it has settled in a bit. It was about there when I got it. Now it's obviously about there. But that's an acceptable amount of movement. Definitely acceptable. A Strider with this early of lockup, when it had the radius blade tang, if you flipped it as many times as I have, would already be at about 50% and possibly already have blade play. I'm not knocking Striders. If you have a Strider with the radius blade tang and it hasn't done that, then that's excellent. But in my experience, and I own 3 of them before, they will develop blade play and pretty rapidly. So I wanted to talk about the new geometry and just show this knife. Strider has done a lot of improvements with their fit and finish, mainly the action and the lockup. This knife is incredibly smooth for a Strider, and Striders are normally known for being kind of rough around the edges. This knife isn't. It's very, very well built, as a matter of fact. It actually surprised me. One of my friends, Peter Moore on YouTube, actually got a new SMF a while back and was surprised at how well it was fit and finished and how smooth it was, and I concur with that. This thing is a good bit ahead of the 3 SMFs that I had. This thing has no blade play in any direction, none. Yet the blade swings freely if you take the pressure off the lock bar. It's smooth as butter, has good detent. It's able to be flicked. I mean, it's just buttery smooth. Blade centering is absolutely spot on, dead nut centered. All of the fit is just about perfect. I mean, scale to G10 to titanium, the mate is perfect. Jipping lines up. Everything is just really, really well made. Not to say that Strider didn't have the capability, because they obviously do. They make custom knives. They make some of the nicest knives in the industry today when they want to, but their regular SMF and SNG just wasn't this high of quality, in my opinion, before. Something has changed in my eyes, and they've kind of stepped it up just a tad. Maybe with a new lock geometry came some new quality control improvements, or just quality improvements in general. I'm really focusing on this lock because I want to get some good shots of the new geometry, just for the people that had a question about it. I don't have an old Strider to compare it to, but you can go look it up. I'm sure there's pictures. Just imagine a radius where this flat section is here now. You can actually check the lockup from the back on these as well. It's really early, and I don't suspect it to really move from this spot for a long time. I do want to carbonize the lock face on this just to further prevent any wear, but if you get a new Strider with a new lockup, it's safe to say that it's going to be a long wearing knife, and it's probably not going to have any blade play issues. And that's really the main function of this video, was just to show that Strider is kind of stepping their game up, and it's no longer the rough around the edges user knife that people were kind of making them out to be. They're actually getting to be a little bit more refined. This hollow grind is actually hand ground. I didn't know that until somebody informed me of that. So yeah, it seems like they're putting a little bit more attention to their knives, trying to make them a little bit nicer. Honestly, they deserve to be compared with these 3, in my opinion, just because they've improved the lock, they're improving the fit and finish a little bit, so they definitely deserve to be classed with these other 2 right here. Before, with the known lock issue, I would have never really wanted to pair them up with these, but now I think it deserves it. So that's why I wanted to make this video, to just kind of praise Strider and tell you guys that if you want to try something new and you've never tried a Strider, don't be scared to try it out, because their stuff is honestly pretty amazing. I don't know if it's just because it's the first really high-end knife I bought, but there's something about owning a Strider. When I first got my very first Strider, it was the first day of Blade Show, like I said, and I just had this feeling. I mean, I was extremely happy. The whole Blade Show experience was some of the most fun I've ever had in my life. And I had these new knives, and they were really sweet. I was having fun in Atlanta, and I just had a really good time. And I guess all those good vibes are surrounding the Strider. So when I get a new Strider, I'm just happy with it. I don't know why, it just makes me happy. It's one of those things, you can associate emotions with smells and stuff like that. Well, I associate being happy with having a Strider in my hand. It's just one of those weird things. I don't know. But those kind of emotions aren't tied to either of these. Unfortunately, I wish they were. But it definitely is attached to this. I did miss my Striders greatly, so I doubt this is the last one you'll be seeing on my channel. I'm going to go back on a Strider buying spree if I can ever make some money. Hopefully I can have some income soon. Getting some work with sharpening and knife modifying, so that's good. But hopefully you'll be seeing some more Striders on my channel. Anyway, the whole point of the video, like I said, was to give praise to Strider and talk about their new lock geometry. So, rambled on for too long, so I'm going to end it here. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.